My name's Ethan,
My name's Chuck.
and today, we're just gonna be talking about some cool things that throughout history. There's a couple. Well, actually, there's a lot of things that happened, but really, there's one thing that I wanted to talk about today.
And what is that?
So, all the things that happened throughout time, like the Civil War, the Cold War, World War One, World War Two. Those are all battles and fights, for like equality and justice and what's right. But what people don't really understand is women's suffrage and their right is like because they weren't treated like regular people back then, they didn't have the same rights as men because they thought like men were better and women didn't know anything.
Yeah, that sounds pretty familiar. What was it called again?
So what I'm talking about is a progressive era.
Yeah, I remember that. We were talking about that not too long ago, right?
Yeah. So let me tell you guys about what was happening back then, especially you. Let me enlighten you some more.
So, Ethan, what's the deal with the progressive era? What has been happening back then?
Well, Chuck, the progressive era took place from the 1900s to the 1920s, and it was a time of great change. It was a time when people were fighting for more rights, better working conditions, and greater equality.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people were pretty unhappy with the way things were going. So, who were some of the key players in this movement?
Well, there were a lot of different people involved, from politicians to activists to ordinary citizens. Some of the most well-known figures include Teddy Roosevelt, who was the president at the time, and Jane Addams, who founded the Hull House, a settlement house in Chicago.
Oh, yeah, I remember learning about that in school. What else was going on during this time?
Well, there were a lot of different things happening. For one, there was a lot of immigration, which led to some tension and conflict, and there were also a lot of labor strikes as workers fought for better pay and better working conditions.
Wow, sounds like a pretty intense time.
Yeah, it definitely was. But there are also some funny moments. For example, did you know that Teddy Roosevelt was known for his love of physical activity?
No, I didn't know that. What did he do?
Well, he was known for doing things like hiking, horseback riding, and even boxing. In fact, he once sparred with a heavyweight boxing champion of the world.
Ah, could you imagine the president boxing someone?
Yeah, it's pretty funny to think about. Teddy Roosevelt was also known for his progressive policies like trust busting and conservation.
Right, he was big on protecting natural resources and the environment.
Exactly. And speaking of protecting things, one of the big issues during this time was women's suffrage. Women were fighting for the right to vote, and it wasn't an easy battle.
Yeah, I remember learning about that too. They have to go through a lot to get their voices heard.
Absolutely. But their efforts paid off in 1920 when the 19th Amendment was ratified. That gave the woman the right to vote.
It's hard to believe that was less than 100 years ago.
Indeed, it is. But it's important to remember that we've come a long way since then, and we still have a long way to go.
That's a great point. So, what are some of the lessons we can learn from the progressive era?
Well, I think one of the biggest lessons is that change is possible. When people come together and fight for what they believe in, they can make a difference.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that progress is a process, it doesn't happen overnight.
Absolutely. And it's also important to remember that progress isn't always easy or comfortable, but in the end, it's always worth it.
Well said, Ethan. Thanks for joining us today on our history podcast. Tune in next time for more fun and interesting facts about the past.